Hello, everybody. How are you? There it is. What's going on? I'm Sean Tempesta from Channel 13's The Morning Blend and afternoons on Mix 94.1. And welcome to, is this right? The 15th Conversations with Norm. This is going to be exciting. By far the biggest panel we've had, by the way. And we're all donating our time to have this interview brought to you. So we appreciate you being here so much. First of all, before we continue, how about those Golden Knights? I'm adorning my Golden Knights tie. I'm very excited. And frankly, I was going to call out because I was screaming on Friday night. Screaming. Who watched Friday night's game? Sickening. Sickening. We play the Kings again tonight. Drew Doughty's going to cry like a little baby, and we're going to win this thing. Today's show is a fundraiser with all the proceeds benefiting the Smith Center's education and outreach programming. The Smith Center includes Smith Center's mission includes a strong commitment to arts education and ensuring exceptional arts experiences for the young people of Southern Nevada. Before I introduce you to today's guests, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge and thank our generous and supportive sponsors who made this all possible. New one, I'm loving these guys. The Golden Steer. Oh, who's been to the Golden Steer? A Las Vegas landmark. For 60 years. Phenomenal. Zappos, Channel 13. My boss is here from Channel 13. I had to give that a lot of oomph. The Las Vegas Review-Journal, Connell Outdoor, Vegas 4 Locals, Beasley Broadcasting, Jerry Metellus Photography, and Thomas Mars Production Services. All right, here we go. Are you ready? Are you? All right, let's do it. He is the former celebrity columnist for the Las Vegas Review-Journal, who's been voted the best print journalist by the RJ Readers Poll in 2013 and 2014. He's also the 2015 recipient of the Denver Press Club's Damon Runyon Award and was honored in 2015 by Saks Fifth Avenue's 12th annual Vegas Dozen Awards. And on his 75th birthday in 2017, Mayor Carolyn Goodman proclaimed it July 8th, Norm Clark Day in Las Vegas. Give a warm welcome to Norm Clark. Also, help me welcome the CEO and president and namesake of this very room of the Smith Center, Myron Martin. Las Vegas's entertainment power couple, Clint and Kelly Holmes. A brother from another mother would be Earl Turner. Give it up for Earl. Clint and Earl, they go together. And from the RJ, celebrity columnist, Johnny Katz. Johnny Katz.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you all for coming. We've got the best panel we've ever assembled here. We're going to have a lot of fun talking about the evolution of Las Vegas. Can you hear me okay?
Turn your voice down. It fell down.
Oh.
I got you. Check 1, 2. Is this thing on? Okay, yeah, we're good.
I thought I was getting heckled. That's happened. So we're delighted to have this great group. We're going to have fun talking about how much Las Vegas has evolved. We're going to also talk about where it's going, and my guests were invited to discuss the evolution of Las Vegas. But first, I'm going to have each member of our panel give us a brief bio of what brought them to Las Vegas and how their careers unfolded, and we'll start with Myron.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Myron's. I don't get to say that. What? I came to Las Vegas 20-ish years ago because one of my clients was a guy named Liberace, and when he passed away, they asked me to come and look after his estate. Everybody remembers Liberace? Yeah. Remember, too much of a good thing is wonderful. That guy, yeah. Looked after the Performing Arts Center at UNLV and taught at the university for a while, and then some folks let me dream about what a world-class performing arts center might look like in Las Vegas, and here we are sitting in a part of it today. So welcome to the Smith Center.
All right, Kelly.
I moved to Las Vegas when I was 12 years old because I had a dream of, no, because my family moved here.
That was like 20 years ago.
Yeah, I got called for a show. No, I was 12 years old. My mom decided to move here, and I went kicking and screaming from New Jersey, because who would want to leave New Jersey? And I'm really glad she brought my brother and I out here, because her sister lived here, is the short version of the story. And I'm so glad because of the opportunities and the arts in school at the time. I went to Cashman Junior High, Clark High School, and I got to sing and act and do all these crazy things and find myself. And then I got gigs right after that. I did go to college, though, at UNLV for 3 months. And I'm so grateful. I love this city, and I'm still working after all these years. Yay.
Yes, yes.
I came here to live in 1999, which oddly enough we can term the turn of the century, right? We can say that, right? Not knowing what would happen. I was living in New Jersey at the time also, and my kids, and I didn't bring anybody out here because I had no idea of the city, and I had no idea how long this one gig I was offered would last. But luckily enough, it turned into me living here for the past almost 20 years, like Myron. In fact, Myron and I knew each other in New York, and Myron came out first, and I would kid
Well, I
him.
didn't come out. I moved there.
He still actually hasn't come out. But today, ladies and gentlemen, that's why we're here. And I would kid Myron, how do you leave New York for Las Vegas? And then a year later, here I am. And very grateful to have been, to come out here and have the chance to have a career in the greatest entertainment city in the world. So.
My wife and I'm Earl. Hello, everybody. How are you?
Hi,
Earl. Yeah. We know who we are. Anyway, my wife and I had been traveling on the road, actually. I met my wife in Huntsville, Alabama. Don't ask me what I was doing in Huntsville, Alabama, because
Running.
I have no idea. I was running. I'm sure I was. We met and we traveled. Actually, we were living in our cars and in hotels for 6 years traveling. I was doing a lot of nightclubs. And then eventually, she was about to give birth to our son, and we knew that we had to settle down. So in 1989, I came to Las Vegas for the first time to perform at the Dunes. And needless to say, I've been here, well, we've been here ever since. That's been 30 years ago next year.
Hey.
Yes.
Very, very exciting.
I'm John Katsalamidis. I moved to Las Vegas in 1996, and I don't know if you all are familiar with the Witness Protection Program. I'm not handling it too effectively. I moved here from Northern California. I grew up in Chico and Redding, California, and I was a sports writer at the two papers in those cities. And I was hired to cover the UNLV basketball team in 1996, and a facility they were very excited about at the time called the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, which was being built in that era, and I covered the opening of that. And those were my two primary sports beats, and I covered everything else. And after about 3 years, the RJ decided to put me in timeout for 18 years. During which time I worked for the Las Vegas Sun and Las Vegas Weekly Magazine and Greenspun Media Group, all the titles in Greenspun, and did a lot of different things. And in July of 2016, the RJ called me and said, "You want to do what you're doing at Greenspun for us?" And I said, "Okay, when do I start?" So here we are. And I'm glad to be here with my friend Norm.
Thank you, John.
And Norm, how great is it that we've got, 20 years of Page 3 covered between the two of you?
Bookending, yeah,
Yes.
we got nice bookending.
Really
Yes.
great.
It is, really great. John set up his bureau back in the green room back there.
Yeah, right.
So we've come a long way since the Golden Gate opened in 1906, and one can presume that pianos spawned the honky-tonks as the early source of entertainment. By the 1940s, the El Rancho and the Flamingo pioneered stars in showrooms, and Las Vegas gained the title of entertainment capital of the world. Hard to believe that when Prohibition took effect in 1920 and 2,300 people called Las Vegas home, the railroad people who ran the town confined alcohol sales to 1 square block. It was named Block 16, and that became the epicenter of what was eventually known as Sin City. For the sake of time, we'll jump ahead to the 1930s when 20,000 workers arrived to build Boulder Dam. Gambling was legalized to lift the state out of the hard times of the Great Depression. By the 1940s, the El Rancho and the Flamingo, oops, I got an extra card in here. So my first question is that, this is to Clint and Earl. Trailblazing black entertainers didn't have it easy in Las Vegas. And I thought you would share some stories that you've heard over the years. And
We stopped in the 40s. I'm not that old. Old, but not that old.
Moulin Rouge, I'm talking Moulin Rouge, which is probably not the 40s either.
Well, Earl and I talk about this all the time, that you know, there's a phrase, we stand on the shoulders of those who came before us.
Right.
And we both, you know, respect it. I'll tell a story, and I'm sure you have a story too. This is a big name drop, so Kelly and I had lunch with Harry Belafonte in New York. I know. It sounds. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Stop.
And I asked Harry about that. And he told me a story, and I don't remember which hotel it was, but one of the strip hotels. The owner of the hotel saw Harry perform, and of course Harry was already a big star, and invited him to come out, and they made the deal. And Harry comes out to perform, and of course he goes to the hotel that he's performing in. And he walks in, and the person at the front desk says, "Oh, no, we made arrangements for you to stay somewhere else in North Las Vegas." And Harry says, No, I'm performing here. And they said, "Well, we understand that, sir, but you can't stay here." And Harry evidently had no idea that was, you know, a part of anything. And he asked to see the man who booked him, and he was the owner of the hotel. They called him. He came over, and Harry said, you know, like, "I'm staying here." And the hotel owner actually had to apologize and say, "No, you can't." So it was so bad in those days that a performer of the stature of Harry Belafonte and Sammy, of course, and these people, actually in a face-to-face confrontation with the person who brought him here, were told, "You can't stay here." And then, of course, he did a week and sold out every single show and left after the show and went back to North Las Vegas. It's pretty crazy. Yeah. Pretty crazy.
Yeah. You guys familiar with the Treniers, right?
Yeah.
I've had a chance to sit and talk with Skip Trenier on a couple of occasions. And I remember that he told me specifically that when they were performing in Las Vegas initially, in the early years, they came to the casino dressed. They went on the stage dressed, and then they were not allowed to stay inside the casino on their break. They had to go outside and sit in the pool area that they weren't allowed to get
swim
in the pool and swim in the pool. That was one of the stories. There was a story about Dorothy Dandridge that she supposedly put her toe in the pool and they drained it.
Yep.
And that happened on a number of occasions. There was a story about Willie Mays being in the casino, and one of the security guards said, "You're going to have to leave." And the guy that was with him, the white guy that was with him, said, "Do you know who he is?" He said, "Yes, I know who he is, and he's got to leave."
Yeah.
So there are a lot of stories.
There are a lot
like
of those.
that. Yeah.
And then one of the stories that's told a lot is that Frank Sinatra stood up for Sammy. I guess it was the Sands. I think it was the Sands. And basically told the people at the Sands, "If Sammy can't stay here, I'm not performing here." And I asked Belafonte about that story. And he said, I don't know that that's true. He said, but it's probably true. He said, but there were a lot of other people along the way. It wasn't just Frank. He was one of them. But there were evidently quite a few people that ended up standing up for the other entertainers, which opened the doors eventually. But I mean, we're talking about, you know, in our lifetimes, in some of our lifetimes anyway, that this all was happening. So when I say Earl and I stand on the shoulders, you know, we really mean it, man. We're very lucky because, you know, nobody, you know, questions anything except our ability and our ability to draw people into the room, and that's the criteria for everybody, you know.
There was one other interesting story that I had heard about Harry Belafonte later on. This was still during that time of segregation, but Harry Belafonte actually got into a swimming pool at the hotel with his family, and people started leaving the swimming pool. But they weren't leaving. They went to their rooms. All
to
these
get their
white
cameras.
customers went to the rooms and got their cameras.
Yeah, that's right.
And came back downstairs. It was like, this is not supposed to happen. This is really something.
Yeah,
So
I love that.
So there are a lot of great stories too.
Well, my next question is for John, and I'm going to preface it by saying that when Sinatra first performed in Las Vegas in 1951 at the Desert Inn, his career was in decline. A case could be made that Frank's Oscar in 1954 for the Best Supporting Actor in From Here to Eternity meant as much to Las Vegas as it did to Sinatra. Would you agree, John?
Mm-hmm. It's kind of like being on a game show, isn't it? Yes. The thing about Sinatra, first of all, we had his 100th birthday celebration in 2014. And man, did we, it's amazing how much he achieved, you know, when you go back and look at the breadth of his work. Frank Sinatra in the 40s was the Beatles, or the Elvis, or the Bieber in today's. You have to look at it through that frame. He had 17 top 10 hits in the 40s with the Tommy Dorsey band. And his first film wasn't From Here to Eternity. It was an unbilled role in Las Vegas Lights, a movie called Las Vegas Lights in 1941. He sang in front of the Dorsey Orchestra. So he was a big deal before he ever came to Las Vegas for a while. By the end of the 40s, he was waning. He'd kind of cycled out, like, you know, a lot of them do, like we kind of hope Justin Bieber would. And what happened was simultaneously he found a place to reinvent his career. We've seen this all the time in years since, where he had a place to play. He went to the Desert Inn and got on stage. When he got into From Here to Eternity, famously worked his way into that role and won the Oscar, he became a superstar once more. He was already an established name. He didn't get famous in Las Vegas, but he became reinvented in Las Vegas. And the city's growth and Frank Sinatra's revitalization ran concurrently. And that's why he was so important to the city. When the Sands opened, he was a big deal. And we've seen that pattern, you know, time and again. Elvis, you know, we've had, you could say in some ways even Celine Dion has, you know, a lot of these legacy artists have been able to reinvent themselves or find a place to be and remain relevant and help this city. And Sinatra was the first of many who achieved that.
One of the biggest showmen of all time was Liberace, who had such drawing power that he was paid $50,000 a week by the Riviera. My question is for Myron. How much did Liberace's popularity influence entertainment in Las Vegas? And I'm assuming that kind of money certainly set the bar for many other stars at that time.
Well, it absolutely did. And later in Liberace's career, when he played in your room at the Las Vegas Hilton back then, now the Westgate, in the 80s, he was paid $300,000 a week. When you think about Liberace in his day, he was the first to have a nationally televised television show, a black and white TV show. He was known around the world. He had fans all over the place, and he was as big a star as there ever was. And for him to make Las Vegas his home and to bring the dancing waters and the rhinestone-covered pianos and all that goes with his show, those Anna Natisse furs and the Bob Mackie costumes and all of it, was really special. And I can tell you, having seen his shows in the 70s and 80s at the Hilton, There was nothing like Liberace. You couldn't get a ticket. It sold out like Hamilton.
Nice.
Anyone?
Product.
When are the tickets going on sale? When are we going on sale?
Did I hear Hamilton?
I'm sorry, Hamilton, right. Yes, that's coming to the Smithsonian. That's a whole different thing. No, he was huge, and he was spectacular. And I remember during that period going to the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, where Liberace was performing. And you know, they have every star under the sun on the Tonight Show, and you know, they do sound checks in the afternoon, and then they do the show, and no big deal. That day, Liberace had his rhinestone Swarovski crystal-covered 9-foot Baldwin grand piano on the stage, and every executive in the entire building at NBC had to come down for sound check. I mean, the audience chamber was packed with executives because he was such a huge star. So, to answer your question, Liberace did have a great impact on Las Vegas and the world beyond. Not only did he set records here, but he set records at Radio City Music Hall, which held for many, many, many years.
And Europe. I thought he was huge in Europe, wasn't he?
Absolutely, absolutely.
John, I'm going to pop back to you on the 50s.
Yeah, John.
The lounge.
Get your buzzer ready.
We're in the lightning round.
50s for 500.
Marty Allen to block.
The 50s also produced the lounge era, and we know what a huge impact that had on Las Vegas. How important was that period, and could you include Shecky Greene into the mix?
Shecky's last lounge appearance was probably his most famous. We were at the Italian American Club, and he fell into the stage.
The Dennis Blair incident.
I heard he was pushed by a reporter.
Shecky was going to do some shtick, and he didn't quite make it. He danced with my gal Katie over there right before all that happened, so that was the night. And but you know, okay, here's my feeling about the lounges. There's kind of two eras to look at the lounges in Las Vegas. One is when, like when Louis Prima, Keely Smith, Sam Butera, people like that, and they just would go into the Casbah Lounge, and as Paul Schaefer, my friend Paul Schaefer, there's a name drop for you, said they'd go in there and they'd swing their asses off. That's where you went to go and have a good time when all the other shows were over, and we go through the whole, you know, that kicked off an entire era of lounge performers that included people like Rickles. That, you know, I look at Shecky Greene, it's not necessarily as a lounge figure, but as a generational brand, you know. Shecky equals comedy. Shecky equals shtick in the lounges, in the showroom, wherever. That's synonymous with that. The other era, which has worked against the kind of the golden era of lounges in Las Vegas, is what I will call the Bill Murray era. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do.
Bill Murray played the Lounge Lizard on Saturday Night Live in many appearances, and it began in the 70s with the Not Ready for Primetime Players, which was devastatingly funny, but also undercut a lot of the qualities that the original era brought to Las Vegas, and his music director in those skits, oddly enough, was Paul Schaefer. So he saw both sides up close, and Schaefer was back here last year reinventing once more the lounge scene at Cleopatra's Barge. That era, that method of entertainment where you could walk in and just watch a superstar quality performance is really important to the history of the city. And I think it's still important now, even though the lounges have morphed and changed. I still think it's important for people to be able to come to Las Vegas, maybe not have an idea of where they're going, and hear something and walk into a place and be entertained for a while and be able to just walk out. There's some around here right now, right? But my feeling about my own position here is I'm going to try and find where you're swinging your asses off, wherever it is in Las Vegas. Yeah. I want to find those places and tell people about them because I still think it's really important. And Cleopatra's Barge, what Kelly does at Bootlegger, the Copa Room, I'm at the Tuscany a lot. These are pockets of places where you can go and still get top caliber entertainment, and it's because people remember what it was like when Louis Prima and Keely Smith played in All the Stars, and when Bob Anderson did the Top of the Dunes. We can go on and on and on. I met this guy in the lounge at the Rio, And man, you know, you're walking through a casino and you see people hanging around slot machines listening to something because they can't get into the venue, and you see a guy in there just killing it in a canary yellow suit. And I mean, killing it.
Those were the days.
Frankie Marino tells a story about when he first saw Earl, and he said he was doing push-ups to keep himself going. You
That
know?
was a long time ago.
Now he does a push-up.
A push-up.
Push-up.
It's the Earl Turner biathlon, push-ups and standards. But anyway, so the long story of that is, or the short story of that is, it's immensely important. It's something that still differentiates Las Vegas from the field, is that quality, and we need to keep it.
Yeah.
I agree.
Bravo.
Yay.
Yeah. I got here in '99, as I mentioned, and in 2000 they had a reunion at the Desert Inn. And a lady came up to me just before the show was starting and said, I want to thank you for the little blurb in your column today. And I looked, and it was Keely Smith.
Oh, man.
And that was the instant when I realized that I wished that I had left Montana for just one weekend to come down here and seen either Keely Smith and Louie, or the Rat Pack, or Sammy, or
Yeah.
but I was a sports writer. I never, John. We realize things late in life, right?
Yeah, you know, I had a chance to see the Checkmates near the end at the Casbah. One of the best shows I've seen, man. And I saw the Treniers too at the Plaza. I had a chance to see some of them near the end, but. Yeah, you know, you have to. It's a scene as much as it is a show.
Yeah, it was past dawn, right?